This video is brought to you by Bokksu. When I made a video talking about Demon Slayer speedruns 2 months ago, it motivated some folks to start speedrunning the game themselves, which was exactly what I was looking for. But if I got the world record at 1 hour 39 minutes 2 months ago, that is completely oblivious by today. There are still no glitches in the speedrun, but there's a lot of tech, and there's still some RNG that you have to play around, but for the most part, you should be able to get a sub 1 hour 30 run with just skill alone, no matter how bad the RNG is. These speedruns have gotten absolutely insane, and I hope I can show you exactly how insane they are with this run right here. And the timer starts when I hit this button from the beginning. First thing you gotta do is skip 2 cutscenes. The first one you gotta skip before it even shows up. There's gonna be a lot of cutscenes that you need to skip throughout this run, and the timing for holding each button is actually different and insanely hard to memorize. That said, even if you don't memorize them and just react when the button shows up, it's only a minor time loss. We get through the tutorial fight against Sabito as fast as we can, triggering the second phase, which is an actual fight against Sabito. We start with water wheel into waterfall into 2 attacks, reset the combo into 2 attacks, water wheel, waterfall, 1 attack to reset, 2 more attacks, water wheel, and Sabito goes down. During the speedrun, you'll notice that we're not doing a lot of competitive combos, we're actually going for a lot of resets. That's because in story mode, scaling works very differently than in competitive. So resets are actually the optimal way of clearing these encounters, but of course that opens you up for RNG because you never know what the AI is going to do. Now you may notice that we're failing this quick time event right here, and that's because whether you mash the button or not, this event takes the exact same amount of time. And overall, we want to fail this quick time event so we don't get the extra slideshows at the end of this fight. That's a pretty optimal Sabito, so let's move on to the final selection exam. Final selection starts with some running around. There's no trick here, it's pretty much just going as fast as you can through the main route. But in this level, you are gonna get attacked by some random demons. Now, what you want to do for these demons is actually trigger a parryable attack. So you're gonna deal enough damage at the start, making it so the next attack will be something that you can parry and just instantly finish the fight. I got really lucky in this first demon as he did the attack right away. Usually it works more like this second demon, where you deal enough damage, they do an attack, and then they will do something parryable. There's a total of 5 minor demon fights in the final selection exam arc, and we pretty much use the same method for all of them. It's time for our first big boss fight, the Hand Demon. Hand Demon Phase 1 is pretty scientific at this point. Water Wheel, Waterfall, and DP will interrupt the Hand Demon, at which point he will block, and then you just charge a strong attack, hit him with 2 attacks and parry the first attack, attack DP, jump up and hit him with 2 attacks. The second attack missed because I wasn't fast enough. And that is probably gonna hurt me because this attack with a rock right here was not supposed to happen. So with 1 more Water Wheel, he's finally gonna curl up into a ball, and then we finish the fight by throwing the 3 skills. Minor time loss, but we were able to correct it and move on to phase 2. The focus during phase 2 is actually not to deal damage, but to build as much meter as you can, because you're gonna need to surge for this fight to go as fast as possible. So every time the demon is doing an attack, I'm gonna just stop attacking and try to parry instead. Once you've dealt enough damage, the demon is gonna go into surge, and we almost have a surge ourselves. All we need to do is parry 1 more attack, and our surge is ready to go. While in surge, you're just gonna spam attacks, which is gonna deal enough damage to skip the second surge phase of the Hand Demon. We get through the quick time event, once again failing to complete it, and if it wasn't for that single attack during phase 1, this would have been a perfect Hand Demon. Still pretty good. With that, we move on to the Swamp Demon arc, which first has us gathering 3 demon smells. So you gotta talk to one of the NPCs before the smell spawns. We start with this little girl on the top left, then we move on to the guy in the middle, and then finally the guy on the bottom right. When you do that, it skips to nighttime, where Tanjiro says this line that always resonates with me while I'm speedrunning.
Hurry. Keep a level head, but hurry.
That's exactly how I feel when I get to this point. You've got 2 more minor demon encounters, and you pretty much use the same method again. Just deal enough damage, reset them, which will make them do a parryable attack. Just make sure you don't miss that parry. If you do everything correctly, you should arrive at the Swamp Demon boss fight before the 17-minute mark, at which point you just pray. This is the fight with the most RNG in the entire game. There are 3 enemies, and they can move in pretty wild ways. Ideally, you would hit 2 of them with the same attack, but I've only had that happen once in all my speedrunning of this game. So instead, just focus on killing each one of them as fast as possible by resetting them over and over again. This Swamp Demon phase 1 wasn't terrible, so we move on to phase 2, where we use Nezuko for the first time. Now there's a bit of RNG at the start. The Swamp Demon doesn't always dive underground, so that's not great. But then there's also some RNG right here, where after the dive attack, sometimes the demon won't dive, he will just take the second combo. So I'm having some bad RNG here, but it should be fine, as we're already triggering the Swamp Demon Surge phase. Here we're gonna parry some of his attacks. He's gonna come back with a dive attack, make sure you don't get hit by that, and hit 2 dive kicks on his head. I already have boost, so I'm gonna do that and jump over his swamp puddle into some crazy scratching. The pro player Smoothie actually had the idea of sidestepping in the air into another crazy scratching, and that has now become permanent tech for speedruns. After the 2 scratches, you do a heal bash and then finish the demons with some dive kicks, which is gonna skip his second surge phase entirely. Swamp Demon phase 3 starts pretty simple. We're gonna mostly use Tanjiro for this one, and you just wanna land 2 quick combos on the Swamp Demon, which is enough to trigger his surge phase. From there, you're gonna parry 3 attacks, and as soon as you parry the 3rd attack, call Nezuko to deal some damage and deal some quick damage to the demon. Go ahead and boost, and as soon as he comes out of the ground, you're gonna DP and finish the fight. And despite the bad RNG on phase 2, this was actually a new personal best for me in Swamp Demon, which means we're ready to move on to Asakusa City. After a small walking section, we're gonna reach the end of this corridor, where we're gonna skip the ramen guy cutscene. And speaking of ramen guy, you ever watch some anime and the protagonist is eating some Japanese treat that you've never even seen in your life, so you have no idea what it tastes like? Well, some of these treats might be in your next Bokksu. Bokksu sends you a literal box full of treats straight from Japan every month, and each month has a different theme, so the snacks will always be different. This month is cherry blossom season across Japan, so Bokksu has put together snacks and tea pairings perfect for your own Sakura celebrations. Anyone who subscribes to Bokksu during the month of March will receive the Sakura season as their first box. Now, my box came in a few weeks ago. Do you see all these treats right here? Yeah, they're all gone, but I did film myself trying every single one of them. I tried with a mochi, because I've had it before, but was curious if authentic Japanese mochi were any different, and it's pretty similar to what I knew. Delicious. I couldn't just stop at one, so all 3 of them went immediately. Next were these savory and peppery chips. Pretty surprising at first, they have quite the kick, and I ate all of it. I missed them very much. They were unlike anything I've ever had before. And finally, the white strawberry, which is a chocolate-infused strawberry, and this one, I wasn't a fan. But funny enough, this one was my wife's favorite, which makes Bokksu perfect for sharing with someone else, as you get a ton of snacks with each box. So if you're curious about trying out some of these Japanese flavors, head over to Bokksu through the link down below and use code Globku10 for 10% off your authentic Japanese subscription from Bokksu. Don't miss out on this amazing snack journey through Japan, and thank you for sponsoring. While I was bringing you this message from Bokksu, Tanjiro was able to reach Michael Jackson, which is obviously a cutscene that we're also going to skip, which brings us to this section where we're following Yushido. While following Yushido, you get attacked by 2 minor demons again, and you use the same method of attacking them and parrying their final attack to finish the fights quicker. These are the 2 last minor demons in this run, which means from here on out, it's mostly just boss fights. Starting with Tanjiro versus Susanoo. Susanoo can do a number of different attacks at round start, but this is the only one that you actually have to dodge, so not the best RNG, but not a big time loss either. From here, it's pretty simple. You just do 2 short combos, which is going to be enough for Susanoo to go into her surge phase. From here, you deal some damage, and while the balls are dropping from the sky, you're going to do some strong attacks, so you can take the damage from the balls, as well as deal some damage to Susanoo at the same time. This is going to build your special meter, and you're going to be able to boost extremely early in this fight. As soon as you're boosted, deal some damage to Susanoo, and after she comes down from this jump, she is going to fall easily. It is actually possible to finish Susanoo before she jumps up into the sky, but I haven't figured out a way to do that consistently yet. From there, we move on to Nezuko versus Susanoo, where we have one of the most technical combos in this run. We have to do the Nezuko optimal, finishing with the heel bash into a dive kick, but you cannot start this combo with the dash. The dash cannot hit Susanoo. If it does, it won't be enough to trigger the surge. From here, we try to land as many dive kicks as possible, while throwing some strong attacks in the mix, tanking the ball Susanoo throws, which is going to allow us to boost very early. Now, I did take more attacks than I was meaning to. You can finish this fight before she jumps up again and goes into the second surge phase, so this was about a 5-second time loss, which is not ideal. That said, I do have some new tech for this third fight, the one against Yahaba, that might make up some time. Once again, it starts very simple with a short combo and then a full combo to build enough meter before he heads off and does his surge. Now, we're gonna kill him during this surge phase by jumping jumping over the first arrows and then strong attacking through the arrows that he throws right here. Spend the rest of our meter, and with one more strong attack we should have enough to boost. Now we're gonna move away and boost so we don't knock Yahaba down, and we're gonna finish him before he has a chance to stand up. And with that, it's time for the drum mansion, where we meet our friends Zenitsu and Inosuke. The drum mansion starts as a bit of a maze that you definitely have to memorize. Every time you're teleported, you can't freeze and look for where to go, you just gotta know where to go. I memorized it as a set of directions, so every time I'm teleported, I know which direction to go. So left, down, right, forward, that's how I memorized the drum mansion. But you just use whatever method's better for you. I know Crits, the current world record holder, just has a notepad open right next to him because he can't be bothered to memorize this. After this section, it's time for a very boring section of walking slowly as Zenitsu, as he is startled at everything that this mansion has to offer. There are still no glitches in this run, but if one was to be found, I would love for it to skip these segments because, playing through them over and over is super boring. We finally get through that and we have our first Zenitsu battle. Now, the Tongue Demon is the boss in this entire run that has the weirdest scaling. Combos scale really poorly on him, which means the best way for you to deal damage, as far as we know, is just going for air combos as much as possible. So with the current knowledge, this is a pretty straightforward fight, but I do feel like there's potential here to find something truly broken. It's just gonna take a better player than me to find that out. After Zenitsu comes Inosuke, making me wish that every running section happened at this speed, and then the Inosuke fight is pretty interesting. Basically, you want to do the full tilt skill into skill which will reset the opponent. Now, usually this combos in competitive, but not against a large demon. It will either reset them or make them block the second hit of skill. Strong attacks are also very effective against this enemy, as you can strong attack through pretty much anything he throws at you. And strong attack deals some very good damage as well. And that is actually a new personal best for me as well. Which is very exciting because the next fight is against the drum demon himself, Kyogai, and I do have some new tech to show here. So the fight starts with water wheel, waterfall, you dash into the air, do 2 air attacks and reset. And now you catch the drum demon landing, which is gonna interrupt his special attack where he flips the room around. Now we knock him down because we need to regenerate some meter, and then when he tries to flip the room around, we simply finish him off. Completely skipping the flipping the room around phase. That's phase 1. For phase 2, you cannot skip the flipping around because he just starts with it. But you can run back at the very start, which is gonna stop him from knocking you back, allowing you to deal about half of his health in damage. From here, you just gotta wait until the room is flipped back to normal, but not before you parry some of these blades coming off the ground to generate some special meter so you can boost later. Now with boost, as soon as the room goes back to normal, just dodge some blades and then finish it with water wheel, waterfall, and another water wheel and another waterfall. Which means now we're ready for the Spider Forest. Spider Forest has a couple of walking sections, but no tricks here. It's pretty much just memorizing the main path and going through it until you get to your first fight, which is against the Spider Mother puppet. Against this demon, you're gonna do 2 combos that finish with the Inosuke assist, allowing Tanjiro to regenerate some meter, and then dump it as soon as the headless demon goes into surge, allowing you to finish the fight in the middle of this surge phase. And what we have next is, you guessed it, the Zenitsu show. Another slow walking section, and fun fact, this section is 5 seconds faster if you pick the English dub, which is why everyone is now speedrunning Demon Slayer in English. Crits was actually the one that discovered this, and I hate the moment that he did, because that was the moment that I knew I was gonna have to play dub. But after that section, we have one of the coolest fights in the entire run. And in this specific run, something very curious happened. This is the most technical combo you'll ever have to pull off in the Demon Slayer speedrun. It is the Zenitsu Korean combo. 2 attacks, jump back into prime, and then keep the combo going, and I actually drop it right here. The combo was not supposed to end, and in a panic, I actually did a thunderclap and flash that did absolutely no damage. The idea is to deal enough damage to trigger the Spider Demon's surge phase, which you are able to do with that Korean combo if you don't drop it like I did. Since I dropped it, now I have to wait for this entire phase where he just walks around throwing projectiles, and it's just a major waste of time. But in my panic, I decide to boost and spam DP, dealing some damage, and then I actually finished the fight like this as he was about to go into his surge phase. So I ended up discovering a skip because I dropped the combo. combo. This is actually 7 seconds faster than my personal best, so I accidentally discovered the skip by dropping a combo. That's just insane to me. We've got some more running, and then we finally get to the Spider Father boss fight. Pretty similar to the Spider Mother, we're gonna do a short combo first, and then we're gonna do 2 Inosuke combos, allowing Tanjiro to regenerate some meter, move away from the Spider Father so we're not knocked away, and deal some damage during his surge phase. Inosuke unfortunately got hit there, otherwise we would have been able to kill him during the surge phase, but no matter, we can still kill him before he triggers his second surge, so only a minor time loss. Spider Father phase 2 is a bit more unique as he will just armor through any attacks, which means you just gotta spam Inosuke's Boar Rush and do some strong attacks when you run out of meter. Once Spider Father is down, it's time for one of the most RNG fights in the entire Demon Slayer speedrun. Usually starting with a dash towards Rui gives you a free combo, that is pretty solid, but after that, you're gonna want to reset your combos a lot. With the right timing, you will always catch Rui sidestepping, but once in a while, he will also just blow you away. And what he does after he blows you away is complete RNG. And in this case, I didn't get very lucky. If he does the lines on the ground, that's exactly what you want, because you can just dash in and punish him. So overall, I had one bad reset, which is not a terrible Rui phase 1. Rui phase 2 also has some RNG. First, you're gonna start by jumping back and just getting hit by this attack and hope he does the same again, and he didn't this time, which is the worst RNG you can imagine. I then missed to hit him completely, he does catch me with a combo, and now I'm playing neutral against Rui and just wasting a bunch of time. Rui is very hard to catch. I finally land a combo on him and I'm able to get the reset perfectly, and I got the third reset which I was not expecting. That's not supposed to happen. He usually tries to go into surge right away. Now the next hit will probably just put him in surge regardless of what it is, but it took me way too long to get it, and that was a major time loss. Now we're gonna be able to skip his surge phase right here by dashing in and doing a water wheel, boosting, and dealing enough damage before he jumps away, but the time we wasted to get to this point was probably too much. There's a very long and skippable section. This cinematic is completely unskippable, so you just have to sit through it, but because it is unskippable, that means Rui phase 3 is the least practiced segment of any speedrun, because no one wants to sit through this every time they go to practice that phase. Still, phase 3 is pretty straightforward. You just hit Rui with some attacks into tilt skill and you try to reset him over and over. And even if he blocks, his guard will be broken very quickly, which fortunately didn't happen here, but we had a pretty solid phase 3. Looking at the final time after the quick time events, I lost about 40 seconds in this section, which is, let's say, not ideal. That said, let's move on to the Butterfly Mansion. Butterfly Mansion's pretty much run around, talk to a few people and skip some cutscenes, so there's not much to it until you get to the minigames. The first minigame, you can mash this button as fast as you can, and that will actually end the minigame sooner, so you should actually try hard to mash here. The Kano minigame with the cups, however, all you gotta do is get a B rank to successfully clear the event, because it always takes the same amount of time no matter how good you do. And with that, it is time to go into the final arc of this game, the Mugen train. There's a couple of walking sections during Tanjiro's dream which are pretty straightforward, like leave your family behind any percent run, skip a few more cutscenes and you've got the Enmu fight. Now 9 times out of 10, if you dash at the start, you will hit Enmu. What I like to do is direct his movement with a water wheel, trying to leave him trapped all the time, making it easy for me to reset the combos. After certain health thresholds, it will put you to sleep, at which point you just gotta move the stick as much as you can, and keep doing this until you've dealt enough damage for him to go into surge. During his surge, you're first gonna dodge his first dash in, dodge the projectiles, do a water wheel, get interrupted, and DP to deal some damage. Now, if you can successfully parry these and get to the middle, you can actually deal enough damage to skip one of the sleep phases, but unfortunately, I couldn't get to the middle in time, which means I'm not gonna skip this. Meaning Enmu is actually going to put me to sleep 2 more times before I'm able to finish the fight. Some RNG in this Enmu phase 1, but phase 2 is a lot more solid. First, just deal enough damage to open him up and then charge some meter because you're going to need it later. After you got about 4 bars, feel free to attack Enmu and call your assist, and then meter dump while keeping 1 bar and time it correctly with the DP to get through the arms. It's okay to get hit a little bit during this fight because you will actually want to get 2 bars of special. During Surge, he actually does not get damage, so it's pointless to try and do it. But after Enmu's Surge ends, you have your own Surge to go through, at which point you can spam some attacks, even interrupting his arms attack and finishing the fight. That's Enmu down with a new personal best. I like the way this run is going, except for Rui, who really screwed me. And now it's time for Akaza. The Akaza fight is one of my favorites. I just walked back at the start and punished that dash in with a jumping skill. Then I hit him with a strong attack and 2 skills and knock him down. Now usually you don't want to knock down opponents because it takes them a while to get back up and that's quite a time waste. But with Akaza specifically, when he gets up, he tries to push you away and you can just deny that by using your push block. So this is actually a great way of manipulating the AI to your advantage. Phase 2 always starts with Akaza jumping up, and here's where I do something called the Ashura punish, which I completely missed. Missing that punish right there is gonna cost me about 10 seconds in this fight. So kind of a big deal. Ashura was the player that discovered this, and that is why I call that the Ashura punish. Now here I don't have any meter, so I'm just gonna sit here and regenerate while he does that, and then run away from his disorder and punish it with a strong attack. He's gonna jump up, and the Ashura punish is successful this time. We're also gonna armor through his projectiles with another strong attack and a final Ashura punish. Because we have so much meter, we're gonna deal enough damage here to trigger the second surge phase immediately and finish the fight right at the start of the second surge. This takes us into Akaza phase 3, and we have a bar of boosts to make this go quicker. There are basically 2 attacks that you have to look out for during phase 3. If he comes into melee range and does sort of a sweeping attack, you can just jump and punish with a jumping skill. If on the other hand he jumps up and throws some projectiles, you can punish him with a tilt skill. And just like that, Akaza goes down. Not my best Akaza because of that phase 2, but still pretty good. And that takes us to the final fight and one of the most RNG heavy fights in the entire run, Rengoku. That's right, you can have a very good run and Rengoku can just ruin it all. This is a fight where you have to reset Rengoku constantly, and every reset something could go wrong. Sometimes he blows you away and does an armored attack, and I did miss that parry right there, and that's gonna cost us some time. To be fair, looking back at this fight now, I don't think I was resetting Rengoku correctly. What you want to do is after water wheel, you want to mash the attack button immediately, and here I was trying to run after him as I would against the Rui boss fight. This is just lack of practice. But this phase 1 wasn't terrible, so we keep going. Phase 2, he goes into Surge, and now his attacks are armored. I'm gonna boost and parry that first attack, DP through the second one, and I got hit by the third, but that's not a big deal. Now Rengoku is blocking a lot in this fight, and whenever he mashes, that's just very bad luck for you. Yeah, Rengoku mashed a lot during this last phase, and that is just the worst RNG I've ever seen on Rengoku for sure. I've got him 1 attack away from finishing this fight. He's blocking a lot, doing tilt skills. I'm just yelling at the screen at this point, but we finally get the kill and onto the final quick time event. And after we mash triangle, the timer stops on that final square button press. Right here. 1:23:31. That is a new world record. The PlayStation 5 leaderboard is a bit deserted right now, but my goal was to beat crits on the PC leaderboard. That said, it might be a bit unfair to compare these times, since loading times on PS5 are slightly faster. But I hope that with this video I can bring more people into speedrunning anime games, as I think this is a largely unappreciated side of this community. There are a lot of people into the competitive side of things, but I can tell you that every time I'm doing a run, I feel the same kind of anxiety that I usually feel during a tournament. It's a lot of fun, and you should definitely try it. Look for your favorite game on speedrun.com and give it a go. Don't forget about today's sponsor Bokksu. Use code Globku10 through the link down below to get 10% off your authentic Japanese snacks. And as always, thank you very much for watching. My name is Globku, and I'll see you next time. Bye!